This is truly astronomical. Here it is, October 3rd, 2027, 4 years from now as I'm recording this. And the asteroid Child re-enters Virgo and literally on Rosh Hashanah enters her womb with the United Nations and with Alku. Now, before we go back to the future, I want to spend a minute talking about this past year to really demonstrate the majesty of God, because these 4 asteroids have been in the same vicinity for 8 months. They're still here. Why? That's what he was waiting for. He had an appointment. God specifically caused these asteroids to gravitate up in Leo for 10 months, nearly a year, before descending down in order for Child to make his appointment right on time when he is born, when he begins to become established. Now, this is when things become even more astronomical. You see, the date is October 26, 2027. I am not obsessed with this date. It just so happens it's when I noticed this guy, Lucifer. He is on the arrow of Sagittarius. This is telling me there's a lot of killing going on. All while Child is in Virgo, having just set up the abomination of desolation, likely. And then you look over here, and there is something phenomenal going on with Jupiter and the moon, which I'm not going to get into just yet. I just wanted to bring your attention to the fact that when the Child is setting up the abomination of desolation, you've got Lucifer beginning with all this killing, and he actually stays here until December in Sagittarius. So this really sounds like the Great Tribulation is beginning at this point. Now, Matthew 24 tells us how Jesus said that when you see the abomination of desolation standing in the holy place, when you see Jerusalem surrounded, let all who are in Judea flee, because then there will be great tribulation, such has never been or ever will be. So all this information is just amazing and blew my mind. I made a list and I had notes everywhere. Long story short, I put together this timeline because I believe that the stars and even the asteroids were appointed by God to tell the story of the Great Tribulation and the Rapture. Am I right or am I wrong? Only time will tell. But here is what we have discussed thus far. We talked about how Lucifer in October of 2027 is in Sagittarius. In fact, he's on the arrow and he is killing people. And then also at the same time, a few weeks before, the abomination of desolation occurs. Is that what we can interpret from this Child entering Virgo again for the second time on Rosh Hashanah, this time in 2027? So back at the 2023 slide, I want to point out how Saga is present in Virgo and how close she is to the Child, because she's saying this is the heart of the story at this time. And likewise, she was present in Virgo in 2017 during the Revelation 12 sign. But we notice she's not present here in Virgo in 2027, when one of the most intense parts of the story transpires with the Child entering Virgo for the second time, potentially setting up the abomination of desolation, while Lucifer is on the arrow and has been killing people for a few weeks by now. So where is Saga? Well, I found her on Rosh Hashanah while all those bad guys are in Virgo causing trouble, setting up the abomination, or whatever they're doing, Saga is over here saying the heart of the story is persecution and killing. And how do we know this? At first, I wasn't sure what this meant, what the crab had to do with anything. But then I looked into things a little bit and I discovered that the crab is sent to kill Hercules, who is busy killing Hydra, which is a multi-headed beast from the sea. I mean, who does that sound like? So the crab is sent to kill the good guy who is against the beast, who is harming the earth. And so crab is trying to kill the good guy. I mean, does it get any better than that? And that is why Saga is not here. It is the heart of the story, but Saga is bringing emphasis to the killing of the good guy, while the good guy is against the multi-headed beast. I mean, again, can we not see the amazing handiwork of God in this? We can't make this up. I'm showing you what's in the stars. If I'm interpreting it all wrong, then show me how. But this is what I'm seeing. But moving on, back to this astronomical situation here that I still just can't get over. I told you that we would discuss what is going on with Jupiter and the moon. And here you see I have a Y there because the Y represents Yeshuhua. Now, I believe, as I said, Yeshuhua represents the body of Christ because before the child ever entered in 2023 for the first time, before the child entered Virgo, Yeshuhua had been here for a year. And Yeshuhua spent retrograding in the womb and a little bit outside of the womb for 9 months. And then as these guys progress down into Virgo, Yeshuhua leaves. And I believe the point is to say that Yeshuhua is the true child, reminding us that a true child needs 9 months in the belly. You know, this isn't the Revelation 12 sign. It's just a reminder, I think. And so she leaves, and in comes this alternative child that we've been discussing. So yeah, Yeshua, I believe, is the true child. And so that's why I am astonished that Yeshuhua is lined up with the king planet Jupiter. Now, again, in 2023 and in 2017, Yeshuhua was long since in front of all these guys. All these asteroids followed behind Yeshuhua. Yeshuhua had been in Virgo for a year in 2017 and for a year in 2023 before these guys showed up. And now she's trailing behind, and she lands in the vicinity with Jupiter, the king planet, at the same time that Lucifer is killing people. He's right on the arrow as the child is potentially setting up the abomination of desolation. What does this mean? You know where I'm going with this. I believe this is pointing to the rapture because Jupiter is not only the king planet, Jupiter was the child that retrograded for 9 months in 2017. And here they are together. The child is right here with the king and illuminated by the moon, no less. And what does the moon tell us? Well, I don't know how accurate this is, but it says she also represents purity, peace, illumination, and overall perfection. And she's referred to as divinely feminine. Divine is not natural. So I believe that the moon is telling us that Yeshuhua at this time gets her glorified, perfected bodies, and is in perfect peace and purity now. But I perceive it as the rapture, and I just discovered this in the last few days. Now, before discussing this constellation, I want to point out that the Bible does tell us that there is a great apostasy before the Great Tribulation begins. So, prior to the child entering Virgo in October of 2027, I discovered that Yeshuhua is spending several months in Taurus, the bull, from June of 26 to April of 2027. Yeshuhua retrogrades up and down the bull's horn and ends up down here in the head. So the Romans paid homage to the god Jupiter, as represented by Taurus, for protecting the Roman state. And I found this out on Google. If it's correct, again, I'm not sure, but it says that Jupiter concentrated on protecting the Roman state. And this was their statue god. He had his temple and everything where they paid him homage if they won a war because he protected the Roman state. And it also says that in Roman mythology, the bull of Taurus represents the god of Jupiter. So there we have this very astonishing explanation as to why Yeshuhua might be in this bull's horn being rammed for months, because perhaps the bull, Jupiter, is protecting the Roman state. And who is the Roman state? Could it be Mystery Babylon? And then just a couple months after April of 2027, in July, Yeshuhua enters the crab. I believe that the reason Yeshuhua has to go through the crab is potentially because after all the persecution from the bull, now the crab is told, go kill her. Has the beast, the woman that rides the beast, now set up global laws against Yeshuhua, against the body of Christ, because they keep standing up and speaking out against Mystery Babylon? Is that what's happening in July of 2027, just a couple of months prior to the child entering Virgo and Lucifer getting on the arrow and starting to kill everyone? That first they're going after all these truth sayers that won't shut their mouths? Could that be what's happening here? So let's take a look at where we are in the timeline now. Again, we backtracked and we discussed the persecution of Yeshuhua prior to this potential rapture that happens in around October of 2027, sometime after the child enters Virgo, if in fact that's what's happening. But what we just discussed is that Yeshuhua spent several months in Taurus, the bull, and then we saw in July, a couple months thereafter, Yeshuhua was in the crab for a little while. And I suggested that this might represent the time frame of laws, global laws, being put in place against truth sayers, those who speak up actively against Mystery Babylon the Great. And you know what? I have to share this. A few months ago, it hit me that Jesus Christ was killed by the Romans, but it was the Pharisees who sought it. Remember, they wanted him dead for quite a while, but they couldn't kill him. And because it was against their law, they rode the Roman beast and had Rome kill the king of the Jews. And I believe that foreshadows what will happen with the body of Christ before the Great Tribulation. That the harlot who rides the beast will have the beast system set laws into effect globally that will begin requiring the elimination or imprisonment of the truth sayers. So by September of 2028, a year has passed since the child has entered Virgo for the second time and potentially began the Great Tribulation. So turmoil obviously has been going on for all those who have been left behind, for those who the Bible calls the saints in the book of Revelation, because they got right with God after the rapture when the judgment began, and now they've been on the run. So it hasn't been easy. So why this emphasis in 2028 to 29 with Saga bringing the focus to Virgo for a whole year? What is she telling us? I did discover that Yeshuhua is in turmoil from November 28 to November 29. Now, again, the whole Great Tribulation is problematic. So why the emphasis on this year of 28 to 29? Well, she's here in these constellations this entire time. In fact, she starts out in Libra. It's hard to see down here, but she's in with these scales, the scales of Libra, and we know that means measurement. So I equate that with famine. Now we know there was a great famine in the prior to the Great Tribulation, in the birthing pangs, but this is after the fact. So Yeshuhua, the saints, are experiencing hunger, and then she travels from there in 28, and she just kind of goes into Scorpius, and then all and around through, and this is the red dragon up above. I couldn't fit it all in the picture. And over here is Sagittarius, where she ends up going later. But until November 29 for the year, she pretty much hangs out with mostly in Scorpius and in Libra, the scales, or potentially famine. And then in December of 2029, Yeshuhua has entered the bow of the archer of Sagittarius. Now remember, the Lucifer was on the arrow, and that spoke to me killing. But Yeshuhua puts the emphasis on the bow. This is the bow. It's hard to see in this image. Here's the arrow. Here's the bow. Please disregard this thing in here in the middle. It's a mistake. But at any rate, Yeshua is on the bow, and this speaks to me hunting. So all I could think was, has the beast come up with some kind of new technology to zero in on where these people are hiding out so that he can find them and track them better? Again, this is in December of 2029. And then in March, a few months later, we find Yeshuhua has traveled over into Capricornus and spends from March 2030 to December 2030. And I read in Greek mythology, Capricornus is affiliated with the horned goat and the rites of sacrifice. Since Yeshuhua remains in Capricornus until December of 2030, could it be that the beast will capture these folks who have been on the run and kill them en masse throughout the majority of this year? So where we are on the timeline is we just discussed that the Left Behind saints spanned November 2028 and 2029 in and around Libra and Scorpius and the Red Dragon. And starting back in September of 28, Saga is bringing our attention to Virgo for a year, saying the story, it's intense for Israel at this time, and pretty much lines up with the same time frame as when Yeshuhua is in Libra and Scorpius and the Red Dragon. And then we saw going into November of 28 how Yeshuhua is in Sagittarius in the bow, suggesting potentially that the hunt has been improved or accelerated or something, and that now he is going to be able to begin finding these people, these saints of God, and he does so beginning in March of 2030 and going in through December of 2030, because Yeshuhua is in the Capricornus constellation. Now, this is my favorite, or one of my favorite parts of this discovery. The child is under the king's feet in August and September of 2031. First in August 2031, and then here on the back left foot in September of 2031. The child is under the king's feet. What does this tell us? I mean, is this happen chance? Was this all happen chance? No, I don't think so. I believe what God is showing us is that the Battle of Armageddon transpires in August and September of 2031. And he ends up under the king's feet. This is when Jesus destroys the child. Back to the timeline, we see that the child comes under the king's feet 2 times in August and September of 2031. This begs us the question if this is in fact the Battle of Armageddon, because a couple months later, on October 1st, 2031, the Feast of Tabernacles is scheduled. Could it be that on October 1st, 2031, the New Jerusalem will have been brought down to the earth, and Jesus Christ the King and his servants will begin the 1,000-year reign? Again, this is what I found in the stars. All these asteroids visit these constellations in these time stamps. What does this tell us? Is this in fact the story of the Great Tribulation and the Rapture?